Okay, Nick.
Perfect. So at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. So thank you very much once again for attending the Clark Cleveland Pocket Park Improvement Project community meeting from the Capital Improvement Department. Once again, my name is Nicholas Gonzalez and I am the project manager for this project. Let's go into the project details. So the location of the project, this is going to be a North Clark Drive and Cleveland Avenue intersection, El Paso, Texas 79905. The district it's located in is going to be District 3. The total budget is going to be $293,295, and this is going to be for Phase 1 improvements. The funding source is going to be Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, and the project benefits to the community is to provide a new park dedicated to the public. So the project background. So August 27th, 2018, the letters of intent were released. September 20th, 2018, the idea workshop for District 3 residents was held. September 29th, 2018, the citizen request form was submitted. On November 15, 2018, the design lab meeting held at Riverside High School. March 7, 2019, the project was taken to the steering committee for comment. On May 14, 2019, the draft annual action plan was taken to council, released for a 30-day public comment period. July 2nd, 2019 was the final approval of council. Now from January 2020 to March 2020, the procurement of the architectural and engineering firm for Phase 1 began. March 2020 through September 2020, Phase 1 design phase was occurring. Now from October 2020 to be determined, the procurement of construction firm for Phase 1 is underway. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the project location. As previously mentioned, it is at the intersection of North Clark Drive and Cleveland Avenue. Right here is going to be the corner. This is going to be the project location. Now the red line does delineate Phase 1 from Phase 2. So Phase 1 is what we're going to be working on currently, and it's going to be the upper half of the portion where the TECQ station is located, and Phase 2 is where the PSB well is located. So the project limits is from North Clark Drive to Clark Cleveland Avenue, and please keep in mind that this is for Phase 1. Now I provided some existing conditions. This is the existing conditions and the project site currently. So I wanted you to go ahead and see for yourself and review and look at the existing conditions of the sidewalks, the parkways, and the slopes as well. I provided some more showing the existing perpendicular ADA ramp that is currently there, the existing condition, what is currently right behind it, of course behind the stem wall, the existing condition within the fenced area, the PSB well that is located in Phase 2, how the fence is currently standing, and at the end there is a man well, so there would be no accessibility for concrete or pedestrians. So the park development process. The park to be developed in phases. So Phase 1 improvements. It's in progress. We addressed the community concerns on Clark Drive related to traffic and pedestrian safety. The major amenities includes trees and landscaping, lighting, benches and walkways and sidewalks. Phase 2 improvements. The funding and timeline not yet determined. Amenities to be developed through collaboration with the neighborhood. Phase 2 improvements. Funding not yet identified. Amenities to be determined through public input. But here are the possible options. We have a new futsal court with a chain link fence, new concrete sidewalk to connect the futsal court with perimeter sidewalk, new benches with concrete slab adjacent to futsal court, new screening around futsal court, new playground, new trees or shrubs, new area with sod, new irrigation system, as well as other options. So Phase 1 scope of work. This is going to be more in detail. So this is going to include the new concrete sidewalk, new concrete curb and gutter, new concrete wheelchair ramps, new park amenities such as a bench, a trash can, a mutt mitt, disposable station, and bike racks. A new irrigation system, new landscape rock, screening, trees, vegetation, shrubs, geotextile fabric, and rock mulch. And here is the project concept. Now, delineated as number 1, this is going to be the proposed concrete sidewalk. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you with my cursor right away the whole concrete sidewalk. Now number 2 is going to be, which is located right over here, this is going to be the new concrete ramp. And they're going to be ADA directional ramps leading pedestrians to safe accessibility to concrete sidewalks. Number 3 is delineated as the TCEQ fenced area. Number 4, this is going to be the landscape edging that we'll be providing and installing. And number 5, it's going to be the new concrete driveways, and this is going to be for maintenance purposes. Now, I also want to go in a little bit of more detail on the concepts of the project as well. As you see, these circles delineated with the black circle within, this is going to be our new pistache trees that we're going to be implementing. Now, right here to the south, these two are going to be our honey mesquite trees that we're going to be implementing as well. This area, as you see, this is going to be our Bermuda sod, also known as grass. Now, along the end, this is going to be our red screenings, our meso red screenings, and along it you'll see that there is a lot of shrubs located within it, as well as rainbow boulders. Right here, as you see under the trees, this is going to be 3 bike racks that we're going to be implementing. This little square that you see right here, this is going to be a trash receptacle. Now, located under the tree, there's also a new bench that we're going to be implementing. And you see this little black circle right here? This is going to be a mist station that we're going to be providing for residents, and that way they get shade as well when they're with their dogs, their cats, or their animals when they're walking them. So our phase 1 schedule and contact information. So the contractor, to be procured fall 2020. Our construction start is going to begin spring 2021, and our construction completion will be summer 2021. And the project manager for the Capital Improvement Department will be me, Nicholas Gonzalez. My phone number is going to be 915-216-4287, and my email address will be gonzalesnx@elpasotexas.gov. And I'll go ahead and conclude the presentation, so I'll go ahead and answer any questions that you may have or any comments that you may have as well. Thank you very much for attending the meeting.
Before we get into questions, Fred, for just a minute. Thank you, Nicholas, for the presentation. My name is Cassandra Hernandez. I'm the El Paso City Council representative for this district, District 3. May I ask you to pull up the presentation one more time to the project timeline?
Yes, ma'am. Let me get that for you. Go ahead and present it again. Oh, sorry about that. Here we go.
That's okay. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit more background because I think Mr. Borrego, who's on the line, we really need to recognize the work that our neighborhood associations are doing. So as was mentioned earlier, this is a community development block grant, and these federal funds are used specifically for low socioeconomic status communities and to help address the growing need for recreational space. This area in particular is very close to the intersection of Trowbridge and I-10, the interstate, and there's no green space other than the school that's right down the street that we have in a cooperative agreement with so that we can utilize that space. So this will address the need for additional green space so that we can have park space, and then so we can have more areas to enjoy and recreate outdoors. And so this is a good first step to addressing a very blight area. So when we had that idea workshop it was at a restaurant off of Alameda, it's called El Crucero, and some really great ideas came out of how we can provide these much needed amenities for these communities that have been built without any real sense of community and no parks. And so I really want to give the kudos and the recognition to our strong neighborhood association leaders. Mr. Fred Borrego, who's on the call, he's with the San Juan Neighborhood Association. He's the president of that association. And so he has been a part of all of these meetings and has been a part of the process from the beginning. So it's very nice to see that initial intent being released from those community meetings to design workshops to the fruition of the design of this project. And so I just wanted to make sure I recognized you, Mr. Borrego, and then if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them now.
Yeah, phase 1, phase 2. It was my understanding that it was just going to be one park without any phases. When the money was gotten to CDBG, it was my understanding that, again, that it was going to be the whole park, the whole area, or the whole lot. Can you explain that? And then a question, Mr. Gonzalez. What's full sol? Fuel sol? Full sol.
So the futsal court, sorry to interrupt. The futsal court is going to be what is used highly by soccer players. So it's basically an asphaltic court that soccer players can play on, basically a hard court instead of grass that has goals as well.
Got it. Another thing, I don't have any problem. Remember that I had talked to Mr. Weaver about it, and he said that the community was going to have input on design. Well, we're not designers. We don't know. I think you guys know best. And what Mr. Gonzalez was showing us right now, I think that's just great. I don't have any problems with it. I mean, it's totally a lot better than what it has been for the last 30, 40 years. So it's an improvement, and we're all for it.
That's very great news. Thank you.
Can we move to the slide with the design of it?
Yes, ma'am, of course. Let me get that for you.
And so, Mr. Borrego, you're correct. The intent of the project is to do the entire lot. And with the dollars that have been allocated, I think this is what was able to be funded. And so I'll refer it back to the department to explain what the phase 2 estimate cost would be and what we can do further into phase 2 if there's any dollars left on the table on phase 1.
Okay, but there'll be some cleaning up on the back part of the lot, right? So it won't be so just dirt. I mean, we got to do something because it's not going to look right. Or is it going to be fenced off?
So just to clarify, on the second half, it won't be fenced off. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and remove the whole fencing, from my understanding. As far as cleaning up the bottom half, if there's any remaining funds, we can go ahead and definitely look into that.
What I mean by cleaning, I mean just at least something. Okay, let's see. Instead of just dirt, maybe golly gee, just puts, I don't know, something, because the weeds are going to come up and it's going to be very drastic. I mean, hey, we got a park, but what happened here? We still have a lot. And the other thing is on the water well on the head. What's going to happen there? Are they going to cap it with maybe like a big old concrete thing so that nobody gets into it and plays around with that?
No, so for the PSB well, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, from my understanding, they're going to lower it to the elevation and they are going to plug the well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Nick, can you bring
Yeah,
up,
to further
can you bring up-
elaborate on the food section, that whole lot is covered in broken glass right now, so it really is a safety concern if something's not done to clean up that area.
Okay, so that's something we'll definitely take in consideration and look at the funds, of course.
Who was speaking just now? I'm sorry.
Hi, Sam Archuleta.
Hi, Mr. Archuleta. Okay, so can we show the existing condition of the southern part of the lot for phase 2? So can you point out with your cursor which areas would be phase 1 and which areas would be phase 2?
Okay, so phase 1 is going to be right on this top half. Right here, this is going to be in the location of phase 2. This is the PSB well that is located.
Screen, Nicholas.
Let me go ahead and share again. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see my screen currently?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So right here, this is going to be the PSB well that is located in phase 2. So this is going to be a portion of phase 2 right here located. This is going to be the halfway mark, more or less, of between phase 1 and phase 2. And as you see right here, this is also going to be phase 1. This is the TCEQ station. So the halfway mark is going to be, this is going to be phase 1 and then partially a phase 2. So you can see right here, this is what the existing conditions of phase 2 looks like.
Nick, this is Diane Garcia. Can you bring out the aerial? I think they could get a better perspective with the aerial.
Yes. That one, there you go. So pretty much it's just going to be half of the lot.
Yes, sir.
I do have a question. Bettina Olivares with Representative Hernandez's office. If all the fencing is going to be removed, and kind of referring to what Mr. Borrego is saying, then people are going to have access to the phase 2 portion of the lot. And if people are going to have access and there's not going to be any sort of appropriate flooring or landscaping, and I believe Mr. Archuleta as well, could that be kind of a safety concern if it's not fenced off and we're leaving it open to the rest of the park? Maybe consider fencing it off until it's ready, or saving some money from the phase 1 to making sure we have some kind of safety net for phase 2 before we even get started to phase 2. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and of course remove the fencing, and we'll go ahead and take in consideration the existing conditions of phase 2. And if there's any funding, we'll go ahead and see if we can go ahead and try to implement any cleaning. But it also depends on just the budget that's allocated for construction.
Right, and could something be taken into consideration that maybe we leave off a couple of bushes off phase 2 in order to make those savings, to ensure that there is proper cleaning and for the phase 2?
Yes, definitely. That's something we can go ahead and evaluate.
Let me
Hi, guys.
add on.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is Sarah with Community and Human Development. Just something for you all to consider. So for CDBG, unfortunately, we can't fund maintenance. So like cleaning that phase 2, it's something that we may not be able to fund with our CDBG dollars, even if we were to make like a reduction in the phase 1 scope, whatever, even if that's a minor reduction.
Let me add, where there's going to be cost in all the trees, there's going to be cost in the benches and all the amenities that are going to go in phase 1. And going along the lines of Bettina, maybe we just do the whole lot and then hold off until we get more money to do benches and trees and whatnot,
So
I have a feeling that it's not going to come out looking very good. The way I see it, I picture phase 1 really nice, and then phase 2, hey, what happened? Or we don't have enough money,
So
Ed, and I could be, oh, sorry, Jerry.
So the most expensive portion of the phases is primarily the irrigation. And so at least for phase 2 and the walkway. So to put irrigation there isn't funding to do that. Mr. Fife, who is the Director of Recreation, is on the line. Perhaps we can work together to see if Parks Maintenance can at least do some cleanup of that area when the park is brought online.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what I was going to say, I mean, and this is just more me as in El Paso, because I'm certainly not an expert, in park development. But if we did that, I would be concerned that the finished product of phase 1 would look substandard. You know what I mean? And here, if we can get a phase 1 that's real nice, then, I think that there's going to be a lot of support, not just in the community, but, at the city as well, to know that, this is a project that we have put into phases. And in doing that, there's, at least somewhat of a commitment to do everything that we can to try to build out phase 2. And so, I mean, it's just my perspective that I'd like to see a real nice phase 1 that then turns into a real nice phase 2 instead of sort of a pared down, maybe, you know, half complete looking complete phase 1, if you know what I mean.
And this is Ben Fife from Parks and Recreation. And Jerry, I would agree that we can certainly look at parks maintenance assisting with cleanup of the phase 2 side once it is turned over, or to include also contracting that out to make sure that you know, it doesn't mar what we're doing in phase 1.
Okay, so this is Cassandra. I understand both of the statements that Mark Weber mentioned and Mr. Borrego, because I too am concerned about what the product would look like only doing half of the lot, because it's already a very small lot. So you all have to consider here that these lots that are adjacent to the vacant lot are very tiny parcels, very tiny homes. So it would be equivalent to what you see. It's how many square feet is one doing? What is the total square footage?
The total square footage, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, Mr. Alan Herrera, if you can answer that question. If you know that the total square footage, okay. I'm not 100% sure on top of my head.
You can get it for in just a minute. So my point is that what's that?
This is Alan with CEA. It's about half an acre. Actually, the whole lot is about an acre. What we're working with is a little bit less than half an acre.
Okay, it's half an acre. So if in terms of strategizing for future funding, I agree that a phase 1 could help draw in additional dollars for completion of phase 2. So in terms of just looking at it from what could get this project to be fulfilled faster with funding, I think this would be the best model. However, looking at just phase 1 complete without phase 2, I think is going to look awful. Phase 2 needs to have at minimum either, because you know folks don't see a line, they don't see that red line, they see a vacant piece of land, especially young children. So it needs to be at minimum removed from all debris, all of the shrubbery, all of the weeds, and possibly putting some kind of screening, rock screening. So because all of that dirt and all of that dust is going to just go into the rest of the sod and the nice area, because that's one of the major concerns here is there's a lot of wind, it's downwind, and these neighborhoods just have like sandstorms all the time. And so as much as we can try to eliminate the dirt, the dust, and put some screening, I think would be the best compromise. But Mr. Borrego, it's in my opinion, looking at CDBG projects over the years, that this type of approach would give us more funding and would give us an opportunity to be more competitive for future funding in a shorter time period. But you know, it is a lot of money. It's $290,000, and so for $290,000, you know, it is disappointing that it could only complete phase 1. So if there are opportunities to expand more into phase 2, whether that be additional sod, additional landscape, whatever it could be, or additional vegetation, I think it should be considered. I want to make sure all of the dollars stay in the project and it goes specifically for amenities, as opposed to consulting costs and construction costs. If we can put more into the amenities, that would be preferred.
Agree.
Who was that?
Borrego.
Oh, hey, Fred.
I agree.
Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am, and exactly everything you said.
Okay.
Because the questions are going to come to me. The neighbors are going to be calling me, hey, what happened here? You promised us a big park. And I say, well, that's what the city told us. And talk to the representative, you know, so, but that's fine. I mean, if we waited 30, 40 years for something to happen in this lot, we can wait another 6 months maybe for phase 2, a year at the most.
When I think the application is just closed for CDBG. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Weber.
Well, right, and you know, I actually, you know, I was texting with Sarah Ortiz right now and saying that it would be really cool to be able to do phase 2 of this park the next time the cycle comes around. And of course, you know, what that means is, you know, we're not talking about tomorrow, but you know, maybe 3 years. And believe me, it's on our mind that we would like to do a phase 2 right now. I mean, things change. If we're going to be, you know, fighting another pandemic 3 years from now, we might have to redirect funds. But I mean, phase 2 is something that we are interested in taking care of. It's just, it ain't going to happen in 6 months. I'm sorry, Fred. And I do want to say that I really thank you for your patience so far. And you know, I hope you're happy to see that some of it is starting to pay off.
Sure. Sure. Thank you.
I see there's another question from a Yolanda.
Yes, I am right across from phase 2. And you all are just talking about beautifying this area, but just half of it. The thing is that there's an alley on the, how I'm seeing it, on the left side. There's an alley. There's Cleveland Street, and then there's Clark. You haven't taken in consideration the dangers that there are on the street. People drive through here as if it was a freeway. And on Clark, the trucks, commercial trucks, from their warehouses down, children, you're not gonna fence any of this. You're putting the children's life at stake. Children run off. What's gonna happen? Are you gonna be responsible if somebody gets hurt? No, you're not. You're just thinking of beautifying. I have been a resident of where I'm at 59 years. And I know the dangers. There's a lot of danger if you place a park here, like you say, for children and etc., families. Children run off. Even children of the neighbors that are playing, they use the street. So tell me, you're gonna be responsible for any of these children that will get into an accident? You're not gonna fence anything. I do not agree with what you're calling a beautification for our area. Like I tell you, I've been here 59 years, and I know exactly the danger that children are gonna face on Clark and on Cleveland. I don't think you took that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda, for your response. And I will respond to Yolanda if that's okay with the team. Yolanda, I live very nearby this intersection. I take Trowbridge home every day to my residence, and so I'm very familiar with the traffic that happens. A lot of people exit Trowbridge and then they cut through Cleveland to avoid the traffic light at I-10 and Trowbridge. And so it does create a concern for high speeds in the area. And I'm committed to working with you and your neighbors so that we can ask the city transportation department for some traffic calming measures. And those traffic calming measures could be different things like stop signs, like speed cushions, you name it. It could be flashing lights that there's a park, there's pedestrians nearby. So those are things that we can work towards as the phase of the park is completed. The second thing you should know is that this was requested by the neighborhood association. This was requested by residents of the community because they are desperate to have more beautiful and green spaces so that they can enjoy their outdoor space. This area is very much an industrial area. Like you mentioned, there's trucks, there's 18-wheelers, there's an interstate nearby, so there's a lot of traffic. So it becomes more of a commuter space as opposed to a community space where people can enjoy their quality of life. So that's one of the reasons why we put that park there. But you're right, we need to address the traffic concern. I have young children. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I'm very aware of how if you don't have them a leash, they're gonna go far. But know that the city has multiple parks near major arterial roads. Some examples are Yucca Park right off of Yarborough. It's not fenced in. Another example is Suffolk Park that's over off of Edgemere. Edgemere is a major collector road, and so there's a lot of speed there. It is not fenced in. What I like about this design is that they're going to put the playground closer towards the intersection, towards the alleyway and Cleveland, away from the major intersections. So that's where the design phase becomes very important, is so that we can take into account that children like to run off, and so we always place the playgrounds further away from the most trafficked and the most where vehicles are at. And so the design really allows for a more safer position of the playground. And so if you would please reach out to my office so that we can start collecting signatures, so that we can get traffic calming measures for the community, from the street and for the neighborhood, so that we can be ready when the construction is complete and for when the playground's complete, so that we can address the traffic needs in the area. Thank you, Yolanda, for tuning in and joining us.
If I may add, Representative, this area or this pocket park, we, through the neighborhood association, before I was president, we had talked about it. And this is to serve that community east of Clark, what we in San Juan call El Tanque, because those children don't have a park, or the residents don't have a park. They'd have to walk all the way to Hawkins, where we made that arrangement with the school district back in 2004. And again, just like the representative was saying, these neighborhoods were designed without any green, any parks, any pocket parks. So we thought about this concept with that lot. This is about 20 years ago. The problem was that the water department didn't want to get rid of it. They never wanted to sell. They never wanted to join us in this until recently. But I have been applying for a pocket park in the specific site for a better part of almost 20 years. And this is, again, is to serve that part of the neighborhood of the San Juan Neighborhood Association, so that the people, they don't have to go all the way to the San Juan park that we have, the Hawkins Park. And we did talk about the safety issues. I talked to the previous representative about it. We had talked about that. I talked to Ms. Representative Hernandez about it, about all the trucks. We've tried to have meetings with the truck companies to see if we can reroute them to a different area. In fact, instead of coming Clark north, to go Clark towards El Paso Drive and make that. But we weren't successful because those trucking companies wouldn't come to the meetings. We can't force them. We do have a good relationship with Old Dominion now, the neighborhood association, so we can start bringing those talks more into it. To me, the biggest concern are those big trucks, because they're not just a regular semi truck. They pull a lot of double trucks there. And it is a huge concern, and we've talked about it, We're just gonna have to work it out like the representative says.
Excuse me. There's another concern in this area. I don't know if you're aware of it or not. Like I tell you, I'm right across. And I don't know if you're aware that there's a lot of drug trafficking around here. Whether they've gotten rid of part of it or not. Alleys, you're gonna put a park, a bench. Are you gonna put a 24-hour guard there so that no trafficking is done? Also, there's a lot of our neighbors that do heavy drinking. They fill their trash cans and they throw the remaining cans, bottles, they just toss them over there. You think that they're gonna respect that? They've been doing that for years. There are also people that These are people that have been here for over 59 years. So, you know, there's a lot of other things and other issues that you have to take into consideration. Not only I mean, yes, the traffic is very heavy, and I know what the trucking companies and the truckers would have to face if you would make them go down on El Paso Drive. El Paso Drive is not wide enough for these trucks to make a right or a turn or a left turn. They're going to be taking part of the guards where the railroad is. You would have to widen that street. You need funds. And all these funds that you are going to use will reflect on our taxes. And you can say, no, it's not. I've been here too many years to know the difference. I'm not ignorant. So the city has to give it a little bit more thought, thorough thought, not just because the land is there. There are a lot of issues that you overlooked. Thank you.
And this is Ben Fife, again, the director for Parks and Recreation. And I would say that there are numerous studies that actually do show that green spaces and actually the creation of parkland in neighborhoods tends to actually help reduce crime and the types of activities you are mentioning, ma'am. And so we would hope that that would have this effect in this area because parks can be transformational. And I'm actually specifically looking at studies right now from Chicago and New York related to neighborhoods with incidents of crime before and after the creation of parkland. I would also say too that once this is actually put into the park system, it would also be put on a maintenance schedule that is going to be way more frequent than what this piece of property is being addressed at right now in terms of blight. And so I would hope that this would actually lead to some benefits for the neighborhood related to the types of activities you are speaking about.
There was mention about city taxes, and so Mr. Weber, can you just, or the project manager, can you just reemphasize again, where is the funding coming from and how will it be paid?
Right, these funds are federal funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is the Community Development Block Grant. The city receives a specific amount of dollars every year from the federal government, as do numerous other cities, to make improvements in neighborhoods that are aging, that are older, that have infrastructure that needs upgrades, and are generally low to moderate income. And so again, these are federal funds. They are not city funds that are going into building this park. And and when we're talking about funding, one other thing that I'd like to bring up, and when we're talking about getting the traffic studies done, if we can do that quickly, my understanding is that we have a relatively large NIP round coming up in the relatively near future. And one thing that we've been able to do with the Neighborhood Improvement Program, sorry to say NIP, that's the Neighborhood Improvement Program. And these are funds that are available for neighborhood associations to request projects like this, but at a smaller level than this. We have more CDBG funds than we do the Neighborhood Improvement Program. But if we have a traffic study that warrants getting those traffic mitigation measures put in to slow down the traffic, if that's qualified, then the NIP is a really good way to actually fund that and bump that project to the front of the line and get it done. I know that there are some ifs there, but I mean, there are possibilities to address some of these issues that Ms. Yolanda has.
I have another issue. You say that it's for walking your pets, you're gonna pick up the scraps and all that. There are a lot of neighbors that walk through here different hours of the day across that area. I've seen their dogs do their thing. Do these people pick up the scrap? No, they just keep on walking. They don't care. They're not gonna care about a park. If they don't care about the strip that their dogs are getting dirty, they're not gonna care about the dogs messing up the park for the children. What's gonna happen then? Who's gonna clean? Every day. Thank you.
Okay, and then Yolanda, I don't know if you can see my message, but I put down my office number so that that we can address these concerns more intimately. They're very important concerns, and so that's why we're here having these discussions. But as part of the plans, Ben, there's going to be a MUT, I'm not sure what to call it.
Yes, it's going to be a MUTMIT station.
A MUTMIT station. Okay.
Yes.
And so go ahead, Ben.
So again, this would be a receptacle. Actually, it's a doggy bag, not a restaurant doggy bag, but a park doggy bag receptacle for dog owners to be able to clean up after their pets. And then again, this park, once it is put into the system, would be put on a maintenance schedule as well.
And so the maintenance schedule would pick up debris, pick up any waste.
Picks up. I mean, again, we do ask for people to take responsibility for themselves, but it will handle major picking up from the trash receptacles, keeping the park clean, and so on. But again, we would ask for the neighborhood to take some responsibility for the project that they have advocated for, and we've seen that happen again and again in other communities that we've done something similar in.
Okay, great, thank you. And then Mr. Weber, thank you for bringing that up because that's a great idea about NIP. We've consolidated all of the funds, and so we're going to have one big round. So we'll work with you, Fred, on what projects are a priority for the neighborhood. But yeah, that's really great advice on how we can achieve that. But one thing that was mentioned about the pets, I mean, that's something that we want to encourage as well, is healthy pets and healthy living. So we want to encourage pets to come out and using the trail. But if you're seeing other concerns separate from the park, Yolanda, I would encourage you to reach out. Our office number is listed there, but just for the sake of the recording, it's 915-212-0003. Myself and then Bettina, who's on the line as well. The two of us and Andrea in our office will address all of the concerns within the community, and then we'll work with the neighborhood association. We would encourage you to join the neighborhood association so that we can try to tackle a lot of these concerns as well. Do we have any other questions from the public?
Let's get her done.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you for that. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. I think it's going to be a great addition to the community.
Thanks, Mr. Artuta. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us.
Excuse me, I cannot join this community function. I'm 83, and it's very hard for me to get around.
Mm-hmm.
So
oh no, that's perfectly fine. We can work with you and then be a liaison between you and the city departments and between the neighborhood association. But of course, we're not gathering right now. Everything is being done virtually. And then we work very closely with Mr. Borrego, the president of the neighborhood association. And so any concerns you have, we'll work with the association in our office to address your concerns with the respective departments.
the reason I am able to get together with you tonight is because my daughter is here visiting from out of town. I had some issues, health issues. So she's here and she has her computer. I don't have a computer. I cannot afford internet. But that's the only reason that I can get through to you tonight. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, that's great. But Yolanda, do you have my phone number? That way we can call each other and talk in the future?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you,
We jotted it down.
Ms. Yolanda,
Sounds
what's
good.
your last name, please?
Martinez,
Martinez. Okay. And your address is what?
6113 Cleveland, right across from phase 2.
Okay, because there's 2 houses. Okay, all right.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Nicholas, for the presentation. Very informative. If anything changes, any developments, let us know so we can update the community. And then when construction begins, we definitely want to send out notices to everybody so that they're prepared so they can monitor the progress.
Thank you.
Sounds good. We'll do.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good
Everyone
evening.
take care. Have a great evening.
Good
You will.
evening.
Thank
Wear your
Bye-bye.
mask. Wear your
Always.
mask. Bye now.
Bye-bye.